I'm Dale Smith for Loonie Politics, and this week we saw the return of Parliament in a skeleton crew situation, and it was actually functional. We had even a proper, sober, no heckling, no applause question period that was probably the most professional I've seen it in 12 years. And it was great, but that was the last we're going to see of it. You see, what happened after that was the government bullied through a motion that said that they were going to sit once a week for the next several weeks, as well as 2 virtual sittings. But the problem is that the clerk explained the next day that they aren't set up to do these virtual sittings, which means that the government bullied through this motion on a promise for something they couldn't deliver. And I think that's problematic for how parliaments should be operating. Parliament needs to have a role in a situation like this to provide oversight. And even though it is a global pandemic and we have concerns about, everyone's health and safety, we have to remember that Parliament is better able to ensure that proper physical distancing and precautionary measures for staff better than the people were expecting to do so at the local grocery store, for example. And they're getting paid a lot better to do it. The other thing is that, these virtual sittings, if and when they happen, wouldn't actually be any safer for the staff in Parliament because most of them need to be on Parliament Hill in order to make those things happen. So it's not actually saving the staff of parliamentarians any additional grief. Which makes the notion that they couldn't agree with the Conservatives' proposal for 3 sittings a week in this reduced capacity, which was perfectly reasonable. The thing is that if we couldn't get the virtual sittings and we had the perfectly legitimate option of doing the 3 sittings a week, it's actually, I think, a little more common sense. We don't have to have MPs traveling for a single day, and these are MPs who are not always from the Ottawa region. Some of them are traveling from across the country to ensure that there's more regional representation in the chamber at the time. So asking them to travel for a single day doesn't make a lot of sense, as well as the fact that we possibly have more legislation coming next week in order to ensure that the new emergency relief program for students will possibly need parliamentary approval. If we had 3 sittings a week, we could actually do a proper legislative process with all 3 readings and a committee session as committee of the whole, and it would get proper and, more important, transparent debate, rather than simply having all the negotiation done in the back room and agreed to beforehand, where all the MPs in the chamber simply have to agree to it at all stages. That's not transparent, and that's not providing the kind of accountability and oversight that we need at this time. For Loonie Politics, I'm Dale Smith.